Now, how far will you go to win a game? That's a question that is at the heart of this next story. There are rules and laws, all important, that keep players in check, teams in check. But that has never stopped the wily, the witty and the stubborn to go ahead and bend the rules a little bit, not break it entirely, just go around it, sidestep it just to give them a chance at victory. Like what happened very recently in a match between Australia and West Indies. It was the second T20 international game that has caught our attention. And for the weirdest of reasons, the game witnessed a rather confused and heated moment after the on-field umpire overruled a run-out in the 19th over. West Indies' Alzarri Joseph, while trying to take a single, was found short of the non-striker's end by a Tim David throw. Now, on usual days, it would have been a clear case of run-out, but not this time. The umpire decided to give him not out for an unusual reason. Upon seeing the replay, it became evident, though, that Alzarri was well short of the crease. Aussies started celebrating, but only for the umpire to turn it down since there was no appeal. This, of course, led to a heated exchange between the Australian players and the umpire in question, Gerard Aboud. The Aussies were clearly irritated and fuming. There were words overheard, words said and exchanged. Tim David insisted he appealed. Someone was heard saying it was ridiculous. David Warner said it was a gross umpiring error. And then, of course, went on till the umpire warned them, saying it was heading into poor territory and they could be reprimanded. And they needed to get on with the game, which, of course, then dissipated. But the law says, of course, that the timing of the appeal, it states for an appeal to be valid, it must be made before the bowler begins his or her run-up, or if there is no run-up, his or her bowling action to deliver the next ball, and before time has been called. There is no reference, particularly to an appeal coming after a replay has been shown on the big screen. There was a similar occurrence in the recent Australia versus South Africa Women's ODI series, where the Aussies were denied the chance to review an LBW appeal because the replays had already been put out on the screen. And there have been many such incidents on the field that have seemed daring, controversial, but were well within the rules, or just probably found the right loophole, like what Greg Chappell instructed his bowler, who also happened to be his younger brother, Trevor Chappell, to bowl an underarm delivery. Now, this incident happened way back in 1981 when New Zealand took on Australia. New Zealand needed 6 runs of one delivery to tie the game, and Australia pulled a fast one. And this incident, even back then, was way ahead of its time, way more controversial for those times. And though it was legal and well within the rules, the boundaries of the game, it created quite a stir and was perceived against the spirit of the game. The outrage, of course, caused by the incident eventually led to an official amendment to the international laws of cricket, making it illegal to bowl any underarm delivery. But it is the human psyche that loves to bend the rules. Like when Sri Lanka and Bangladesh took on each other in the ODI World Cup game last year in India, Angelo Matthews etched his name in record books for all the wrong reasons. The former Sri Lankan captain became the first player to be dismissed through the timed-out law. Angelo Matthews was supposed to come out to bat after the 4th wicket fell. He did come out to the crease and realized the strap of his helmet was broken. The law says after the fall of a wicket, the incoming batter must be ready to receive the ball within 3 minutes. Angelo Matthews was clearly fumbling and asking for a replacement. Someone, of course, went on to whisper to the opposite captain, Shakib Al Hasan, to appeal for his dismissal, and he did not waste a moment. Matthews pleaded, in fact, with Shakib to let this go, but his smirk and apologetic shrug only meant there was no taking this back. Now, it's controversial moments like these that create a bit of bad blood as well. Matthews went on to call Shakib a cheater after the game. Sri Lanka went on to lose that match, however. And speaking of bad blood, there was tons of that when R. Ashwin decided to run out the non-striker. It was an Indian Premier League match, and the batter in question was England's Jos Buttler, who was playing for the Rajasthan Royals back then. During an Indian Premier League game, this happened, and infamously, it was called as mankading. Ashwin ran out Jos Buttler at the non-striker's end before bowling the delivery. Now, after Ashwin dislodged the bails, the umpire even asked him about reconsidering his appeal. Both Ashwin and Buttler were arguing much after the incident took place. And after the decision was referred to the third umpire, it came down in the bowler's favour, and Buttler was definitely not pleased.
If you look at the footage, probably the wrong decision was made. Because at the time he was expected to release the ball, I was in my crease.
A lot of debate, of course, transpired after this. However, Ashwin remained firm in his stand. He stood his ground, so much so that he said winning the game was much more important, and he would do anything within the rules to get there. following all the debate, a massive rule change, of course, came about. According to the new rules, mankading will be called a runout and it will no longer come under unfair terms. But a fair warning has to be given before that. And as Ashwin said, one should take every single opportunity, especially if it's within the rules, and take it and grab it. Talking about taking every single opportunity, a similar thing can be said about Eric Cantona. 28 years have passed since Cantona launched himself into the crowd at Selhurst Park during Manchester United's game against Crystal Palace in 1995. Cantona was shown a red card for a tussle with Palace defender. And as he was making his way back down the tunnel, a fan hurled racist abuses at the player. Cantona responded in the way that he thought was best, just leaping in and kicking the fan. A lot of supporters praised him for kickstarting the kick racism out of football movement. He did end up getting banned, though, for 9 months by FA for his action, but he still had no regrets about it. Sorry, one regret. He in fact said, "I regret not kicking him more." Oops. Well, that's how you would expect Cantona to respond. He was known for his fierce attitude on the pitch and clearly off it too. Now, the one thread, of course, that you see running through all these incidents is the stubbornness of it all. They went between the lines of the law to create controversy, confusion, just to go and push for the result in their own favor. But how far is too far, and how far is not keeping with the spirit of the game? And is playing in the so-called spirit of the game the only way to play?
From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
We're beating Biden.
How dare he say that?
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.